All right, so the Oklahoma Sooners were absolutely embarrassed at the Palace on the Prairie on Saturday against South Carolina. This is the first time you've ever had to play them, and you get your ass kicked. So Oklahoma fans are now asking themselves, what the hell is going on inside this program? And what is Seth Littrell's future at Oklahoma? Because it is currently 11:23 on October 20th, and we have not had an announcement from Brent Venabales on it if there's going to be a change at offensive coordinator or even just a change at play calling. Like, Oklahoma fans deserve something at this point, because this product that the Sooners are putting out on offense is absolutely atrocious, and it's not a product that, honestly, fans should show up for. It's that bad. But, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into it. We're going to talk about the unfortunately, we're going to talk about that game. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about it. And you never know. We might go off on a little rant about how we need to fire our offensive coordinator. So jump in the comments below, join the discussion. And if you guys have not already, make sure you guys hit that like and hit that subscribe button. Don't make me beg, because I go to these games. I rewatch the film just for y'all. Nobody wants to put themselves through that. So we're going to start the video today off with a new slogan. We're going to try to get a new slogan going. And we're going to say, make Oklahoma offense great again. You heard me right, because this is not the standard of Oklahoma football. Now, these are going to be up for sale. I'll share the links down in the description below. We got a white and a black version, but we need to give y'all a way to express your feelings about this offense. And yeah, it's just that bad, because if you would have told me yesterday that Oklahoma would have had 291 total yards to South Carolina's 256 and had 19 first downs to South Carolina's 15, and you would have told me that they would have hit Brennan Thompson on a deep touchdown pass, I would have thought Oklahoma won this game by 7 to 10 points. That's literally what I would have thought. But no, we're sitting here talking about Oklahoma outgaining South Carolina, but having 4 turnovers and losing this game 34-9 or 35-9. That's how bad this was. That's how atrocious this was for Oklahoma. So you start off the game, you turn the ball over 3 times in 9 snaps. And I feel bad for Michael Hawkins, because I tried to warn you all when we made the switch from Arnold to Hawkins, which needed to happen in the Tennessee game at least. But to make that switch as a starter, I told y'all, it's true freshmen. True freshmen make mistakes. They don't see the field as well as a guy that's been in the program for at least 2 years. And that's why I felt like you should have stuck with Arnold, but people called me crazy. But in the Tennessee game, yes, you needed to make the switch in the Tennessee game. This is why. Because now you've played Hawkins for 5 games. He can't redshirt this year. So he's probably going to lose the rest of the half of the year in development. Or, well, let me rephrase that. He's going to lose the half the year in playing time. There is no development at the University of Oklahoma at the quarterback position right now. Do not let me trick you into that. And then he has potentially redshirt all year next year. So, yeah, this is a bad situation for Oklahoma. So you're switching back to Arnold, which is the quarterback I think you should have stuck with from the beginning anyways. 18-36, 50% completion percentage. First Oklahoma quarterback to get over 200 yards. He had 225 passing yards and 1 touchdown. Javonte Barnes, 17 carries, 70 yards. Jacob Jordan, 6 receptions, 86 yards. Like, I feel like there's things that you feel like you can work off of with this offense. But in the second quarter, it did not feel like Seth Littrell and Joe John Finley were calling this game. Like, did it feel like somebody else was making play calls? Because all of a sudden, you started to see the young guys come in. Jacob Jordan at wide receiver. You saw Ivan Carrion at wide receiver. You saw some Zion Kearney. You saw Caden Helms out on the field, right? You felt like somebody else was calling the shots down there. And it somewhat worked a little bit. You saw Caleb Hickson at running back, which I don't know why we ain't seeing more of him. Need an explanation on that, DeMarco. But Javonte Barnes poured his heart out for this team on the offensive side of the ball. And if it wasn't for Sexton getting that chop block, Barnes might have had the longest run for Oklahoma this season. So he would have had over 100 yards. So I look at that and I say, maybe you have something to build off of, but we've been saying that every single game of the season. That, oh, well, Oklahoma's offense has got something to build off of. You'll get your wide receivers back here soon. Everything will be fine. It's not going to be fine. And again, it is 11:28 on October 28th, and we're still asking ourselves why Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley are employed by the University of Oklahoma. And I ask myself, too, why is the offense struggling this bad? After the bowl game, it looked decent. And I've kind of came down to two things that could be the outliers here. One of them might make you laugh a little bit. But the first one is the offensive line, right? In the bowl game, you at least had some guys that were NFL caliber out there blocking for Arnold. And although it didn't look good and it was a hodgepodge of an offensive line, like Jackson Arnold had a little bit more time than he's had this season. The second thing is Matt Wells. Y'all know Kansas State took Matt Wells from us this season, right? And there's a part of me that thinks he was an integral part of this offense at some level because, my Lord, you lose Matt Wells and all of a sudden this offense goes to absolute and complete dog shit. That's it. So I don't know if he's really the missing link here, but if he is, get Matt Wells back to Norman. But no, so look at the offensive line, right? It's not good. And Bill Beanbow made a lot of switches on the offensive line, which, I mean, you need continuity there. So I really don't like seeing all the switch ups, even when a guy is playing bad. But I mean, guys, I don't think we should fire Bill Beanbow because he's had one bad year. I'm not going to be on that train with y'all because he's the best offensive line coach in the country. But the offensive line problems they're forming from bad offensive line recruiting over 2022 and 2023. In 2022, you only got Jake Taylor and Jacob Sexton, and those were two really good pickups at the tackle position. Don't get me wrong, but you only took two guys in that class, and you can at least make an excuse because, well, Lincoln Riley left, so guys didn't want to be here. Fine. But 2023, you took Caden Green, Joshua Bates, Logan Howland, and Hito Zaida. And those were only four. Joshua Bates has not been great. Logan Howland, obviously, we knew he was probably going to be a year 3, year 4 type of deal for Oklahoma. Hito Zaida, I don't know what's going on out there. And then Caden Green obviously left, which I don't blame Bill Beanbow for. It was not his fault. Oklahoma did everything they could to keep him. That was a straight the Green family type of situation. We're wishing Caden Green the best, but this is because of poor offensive line recruiting. And although they've had a good class in 24 and they're going to have a good class in 25, the guys in 24 can't make an immediate impact for you this year. They're too young. They're not at the size. They don't know the playbooks, especially when some of your best offensive linemen came in the spring. And here's the deal. Even if they did put some of those young guys out on the offensive line, we would still be having the fans complain about the offensive line. So it's not going to help you all not complain about the offensive line. So at this point, you got to roll with the best 5, and you need to put Sexton back at tackle, and you need to leave him at tackle. Do not move him back to guard, because I think half the reason why Sexton has not looked good this year is because you fucked it up. You put Sexton at guard because you got Hickman in the portal. Hickman didn't know the playbook. Sexton could help out a little bit there. Sexton's had to play back and forth. You screwed it up. Admit it. So Jake Taylor, you need to put him at right guard or right tackle. You need to put Sexton in at left tackle. Tarquin can be your backup swing tackle. Waywood needs to be your right guard. Zaida needs to be your left guard, because both of those two guys, basically, that could be your starting lineup next year for the offensive line. That could be your starting line for the offensive line next year. So the offensive is not good. And a lot of people are kind of referring it to Iowa. Guys, I think it's worse than Iowa's offense. In reality, I really do. Because at least Iowa felt like had some continuity there. We don't have any continuity on the offense at all. Now, maybe you get Deion Burks back next week for Ole Miss, and that helps you out a little bit. I'm not sure Farouk is going to be back next week. I felt like if he was, he would have at least been suited up in the game. Nick Anderson, probably not returning this year. Neither will Andrel Anthony. So if you're Oklahoma, like, we can't even kind of put our hope on maybe some of these wide receivers are going to come back. You probably get one. You'll be lucky to probably get two back by the end of the year, especially now being 4-3. I think it's hard to make the case to bring back a Farouk or Anderson at this point in the season. You do need to get Bowling, though. I think that's the problem. And a lot of Oklahoma fans are worried about Oklahoma beating Maine. I don't think you're going to have an issue beating Maine. I see where some Oklahoma fans are having that question because, well, Maine just beat Villanova 35-13 yesterday. Villanova's like the number 6 team in Division II or whatever it is. So, yeah, it's not good, guys. Oklahoma football is not good. And you saw a lot of fans walk out of the stadium in the first quarter. So, the only bright spot about this team for Oklahoma is the defense. That's the only bright spot here because I looked at the defense and I looked at the final box score. Guys, it felt like we got ran all over a lot more than what we did, but they only allowed 256 total yards. And then you go to the box score and you say, Lenore Sellers only had 175 yards through the air. It felt like he had more than that. Okay. Rocket Sanders, 15 carries, 33 yards. You know, the defensive line only allowed 1.9. Okay, well, hold on. That was from the running backs. Let's look at the actual box score for the rushing yards. They only allowed 1.9 yards per rush. 1.9 yards per rush, 76 yards. Like, if you're Oklahoma, you feel pretty good about that performance. And again, going up against a team like Bama, if you give up 150 total rushing yards in that game, and it's like 3.3 yards per rush or something like that, you're going to feel really good about that. This defensive line for Oklahoma is really good. And there's a potential chance everybody outside of Dejon Terry could return. Now, Dominic Williams probably takes a shot to go to the league this year, but you have a good, strong core foundation there on that defensive line. And there's some guys that might hit the portal that we've kind of been hearing rumblings about that could make an impact like Dominic Williams, and Oklahoma could get 2 of them. So I feel good about this defense going into next year. Oklahoma, though, only had 3 penalties for 27 yards. So you played a fairly clean game if you're Oklahoma. Fairly clean game on the penalties. But 4 turnovers in this game, that's what killed you. Again, looking at my mom in the second quarter, this thing could have been 18-9, and that's a completely different game at that point. But, you know, you turn the ball over 3 times in 9 snaps. You give South Carolina 14 points off those turnovers. I mean, technically they had 28 points off turnovers, but you give them 2 touchdowns off, like, immediately after those turnovers. This is what you get. This is, I mean, you can't win football games that way. So, yeah, and if you're Oklahoma, you don't even force a turnover in this game. That's the only thing on the defense that I think you would say you want back. But if you're on the defense, you get 6 sacks. You have 11 tackles for loss. Danny Stutzman has, I think, his best game of the season. 16 total tackles, 5 solos, 1.5 tackles for loss. Kip Lewis, going to be an absolute monster next year on this on this linebacker group. Robert Spears-Jennings, going to be the answer at safety when Billy Bowman's gone. Jaden Jackson, I'm so excited for this guy. David Stone was your best defensive player last night. 77.5 defensive grade. He only played in 10 snaps at nose tackle, but you feel good about it. Grayson Halton on the defensive right tackle, 76.2. Like, you feel good about the young guys. They like 4 out of the top 5 were all young guys for you. And then you've got 5 through 7 were Billy Bowman, Danny Stutzman, Caden Woolard. 8 was Dominic Williams. Like, I feel good about this defense going into next season. You feel good about where the defense is this year. And I think that's part of the reason why Ole Miss is not favored by 30 in this game next week. They're only favored by 18. That's where the line opens up. Obviously, you would imagine the line's going to increase as the week continues. But this defense, man, like, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you can't go out here and you can't be mad at your defense. You really can't. You really can't. They have not quit. They play hard every single game, and this is what you want to see. So, again, it's October 20th, 11:37 a.m., and we still do not have anything from Brent Venabales on what's going to happen with the offensive coordinator or play calling. So, we'll have to keep our eyes open for that. If you guys have made it this far and you guys have not already, make sure you guys hit that like, you guys hit that subscribe button. If you guys are listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, make sure you guys give us 5 stars, leave me a review. But hopefully we'll see you later this week. And hopefully we'll be in a little bit better mood and have an idea of what's going to happen with this offense.